Hi YouTube. So I've been making YouTube videos for years, but it's a strange experience when YouTube videos start making you back. Recent drama has definitely occurred in my life. If you can say one thing for it, it's not boring recently. And shit has gone down on the whole ex-boyfriend situation, so I'll get to that. But it's interesting that the YouTube videos you make start making you. The first time this happened, it was the guy I was having sex with found the videos and asked me to take them down because he might be identifiable, and it wasn't that dramatic, and I took down the videos because, you know, I'm happy to talk about people and, you know, I feel like I have a right to talk about whatever I want in my life, but I don't have a right to identify the people, so I took them down happily. But I was talking a few videos back about this date I was really excited about going on, and then I went on the date and I had a really bad weekend afterwards, so I was making the video from a very depressed perspective. But yeah, the guy, I linked him, he was a musician, I linked him to a music video on my other channel, and he found my channel through that and watched the video. So I'm not an expert on dating, but I'm pretty sure that immediately following the first date, you should not only divulge that you found the date like nothing special and you're not going to give up the day job, but also that you're a radical feminist that's weeping over her ex, seeing a therapist, and was planning to fuck someone else the night following the date. Yeah, that was yeah. So amazingly, I actually got a second date out of that. And so either he's like the perfect guy or very desperate, one of the two. And I went on the second date, and it was lovely. He's a really nice guy, but it was quite awkward, and I think I could just hear him thinking like, please don't blog about this, please don't blog about this. But mainly it was awkward, I think, because I took some lemon haze with me, and we smoked that about half an hour into this kind of barbecue date that we were having. And it was too strong. Taking London drugs out to the countryside just doesn't fly. No one can hold their drugs. I was just a goner anyway, it's really strong. And I did actually already record this video, but I came off as a bit of a knob, and, well, I'm probably still, if you see this video, it's the preferable version. So it's interesting that the YouTube video I made informed the second date that I ended up going on. So that I come back and talk about the second date that was informed by the awkwardness of him having seen the first video. That's never happened before. And it happened again. And it's an unfortunate drama that I report to you, which is that the guy who I was having sex with, who was obviously a friend of the guy that dumped me, and I've discussed all my motivations for that. Unfortunately, the video is no longer available because it's one of those that identified the guy. But a lot of you have seen it already. Anyway, and the guy that I was fucking, his supposed best friend, went to his birthday party where they were surrounded by about 20 people and told him that he'd been fucking me, and my ex-boyfriend launched himself at the guy and tried to strangle him, and the guy was kicked out of the house by a number of people at the party to prevent further fights, and it's all a really messy thing. So I think he probably did that to get back at me, the guy that I was having sex with. I think he probably thought that my ex-boyfriend was going to see it like bros before hoes and fuck that bitch, didn't want to be with her anyway, and wasn't really going to mind, because I really just genuinely think, like, he is a total arsehole, but I genuinely think he didn't feel that he was really doing something wrong. No, that's bullshit. He's a prick, but yeah, he was obviously just stupid enough to tell my ex on his birthday though, really, and it all kicked off, and my ex ended up like crying and weeping on his birthday, and about 20 people that I knew in Brighton, like my kind of Brighton social life, now think that probably that I went and like sought out his best friend to have sex with to get back at him, and that's just not how it happened, if anyone remembers it. But anyway, my ex-boyfriend called me up to discuss it, and we had this 4-hour-long phone conversation, and it was very sad because my ex was very hurt by it, and whilst I still don't regret doing it, I didn't want to hurt my ex. But anyway, anyway, after me and my ex had this... Oh, sorry, I've lost you. After me and my ex had this really long conversation about the whole thing, he went off and watched my YouTube channel and saw that video in which I'm not only talking about, I mean, really fuck him, because I'm talking about how much I miss him and how I'm seeing a therapist and how his friend turned out to be a knob and how vulnerable I was about the whole thing. But I do also mention that I was going on a date, so that kind of put a bit of a spanner in the works. Then he was back on my phone like, what the fuck, you're dating other people. One thing I will say though, my ex was a bit of a, obviously it's obviously very hurtful for him, and he's no longer going to be friends with the guy, and so in the end I didn't have to tell him that his friend was a horrible bastard, because the friend ended up showing his true colours voluntarily. But it was very sad. But one thing that my ex-boyfriend did do, which made him seem like a bit of a wanker, was he was kind of implying that he'd been sitting there like holding the phone for, months, the 2 months I hadn't heard from him, like so close to like realising he'd made a mistake and taking me back and all of this, and I'd like fucked my own chances, and that's just like, oh please, fuck off. It's been 2 months since we split up. If you had any interest in maintaining a relationship with me, you would have come forward before the 2-month period. That's fucking bullshit revisionist hindsight. He also was talking about how he'd like tried his hardest to be, like the best he possibly could be, but that's bullshit too, because we had quite a few discussions in which he fully said that he knew he didn't try as hard as he could or should before we split up. So that's also bullshit that he's remembering that in hindsight as like his valiant effort battling against my depression or whatever. So anyway, I'm obviously not being careful enough with the links to my YouTube videos, because I don't want it to inform my real life like this. I'll just have to be careful about what I say. But it has made like talking about this sort of stuff like almost a subversive act now, like a defiant act against these men around me who object to my discussing things on YouTube. I feel like it's my life. I'll talk about what I want. I don't identify them. Is it a violation of other people to discuss their life happenings without identifying them? Possibly. You could certainly make a tenable argument for that notion. But I think not particularly, not when you're talking about how a date you went on went, or even the fact that I was fucking, the best friend of my ex-boyfriend. Wish I'd left all those videos up now, because the whole point of taking down all of those videos was to protect the identity of a guy who then went and outed himself very publicly anyway. And the other videos I all took down because I didn't want the date guy, to see how messed up I was over losing my ex still, and he saw the video of me crying over my ex and talking about going to a therapist, so that cat's out of the bag. So I wish I hadn't taken all those videos down now, because you could have a very clear notion of why I ended up fucking the ex. And but yeah, it's a bit awkward that all of those people that I used to know in Brighton probably think that I sought out my ex to my ex-boyfriend's best friend in some kind of like cruel vengeance mission, and it just wasn't my experience. Like the first time the guy took me out, I sat and wept at the table about losing my ex just because he mentioned him. I was very cut up about my ex, and I was even yesterday weeping, talking to my ex on the phone, very uncoolly actually, because the first conversation we had, I refused to. He acted like I'd done something bad against him, and I just can't take responsibility for having done something against him, because at the time, like, he didn't want me in his life at all. He just gave up all the loyalty and all the dedication that I had to him. So he seems to think like I owed him something on the memory of our relationship, but it's kind of hard to see that you owe someone for like happy memories when they decide to just dump you and leave you with no mates and no nothing. You're not really thinking like that at that time. But yeah, I wasn't taking responsibility for it. I was taking responsibility for doing something which hurt him, but I wasn't going to take responsibility for having done something against him, because I didn't do it against him. And it was all really cool and aloof, and I was doing really great. And then in the second conversation that we had, I just like splurged about how much I missed him and how much I still loved him, and how like I thought that, you know, we could have made our relationship work, and I really didn't want it to be over and all of this. And then he had a fantastic opportunity to feel much better about himself immediately and tell me like how that would never happen, and blah, 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 and he made the right decision anyway. And so this is the prick the day before that's trying to make it out to me like, oh, he was so close to. And then eventually, like, he's like over it, like 24 hours later, and admitting to me that, you know, he didn't want to be with me anyway. And oh God, what a mess. Anyway, it's all very exciting. 4-day bank holiday weekend, and I have no plans, so I might make a creative YouTube video or something, but yeah, wow, YouTube started making me. Interesting, and I'll see you soon.